seem to stick, like picking up a new skill or getting healthier maybe.
Yeah, or just being more organized even, while other attempts just fizzle out so
That's
quickly.
faster than a cheap sparkler. So today we're diving deep into that very question.
And our guide is going to be that, well, incredibly practical book, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Right. And for you, our listener, someone who, values getting to the heart of things efficiently, understanding stuff in a structured way, we're going to unpack the core ideas from the first few chapters.
Think of it like your express route, maybe, to grasping how even really tiny tweaks in your habits, well, they can lead to significant results.
Yeah, and without feeling like you're drowning in information overload.
Exactly.
Because Atomic Habits isn't just like feel-good advice. It's a really well-thought-out manual.
Yeah.
It explains how habits actually work.
Yeah, it's very practical.
So we'll kick things off exploring the surprising power packed into these tiny habits. That's chapter 1. Then we'll dig into chapter 2, see how deeply our habits and, well, our identities influence each other. It goes both ways.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And finally, chapter 3, we'll get our hands on the actual, like the concrete 4-step framework for building better habits.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to digging into these foundational ideas with you.
Me too. So let's jump in. Chapter 1, The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits.
And that story of British cycling. Wow, it's such a compelling place to start, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, for nearly a century, their performance was, well, let's just say underwhelming.
Underwhelming is putting it mildly. One single Olympic gold since 1908. No Tour de France wins in 110 years.
It got so bad, bike manufacturers didn't even want to sell them bikes. They were worried about the association.
It's almost hard to believe looking back. And then 2003, Dave Brailsford shows up.
Right, with his philosophy, the aggregation of marginal gains.
Okay, let's unpack that, because it wasn't about some massive revolutionary overhaul.
No, not at all.
It was all about finding and implementing these tiny, like 1% improvements.
In everything. Absolutely everything related to cycling.
And the core idea, the big takeaway right there, small, consistent improvements compound. They add up to huge results.
Think about where you could apply that 1% mindset in your own life. Right?
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is just how wide-ranging these improvements were.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they looked at the bikes, redesigned seats, sure. Even putting alcohol on the tires for better grip.
But then the other stuff, things you'd maybe never even consider. Heated overshorts to keep muscles at the right temperature.
Biofeedback sensors to monitor training responses.
Yeah.
Wind tunnel testing. Not just for bikes, but for the fabrics of the suits.
Yeah. Switching to lighter, more aerodynamic indoor racing suits, even when they were racing outdoors.
And they didn't stop at the gear and the tack, did they?
No way. They were meticulous about recovery. Different massage gels tested.
Yeah.
The most effective hand-washing techniques taught by a surgeon to cut down on illnesses.
Right. And optimizing sleep. Custom pillows, mattresses for each rider.
They even painted the inside of the team truck white, just so they could spot any tiny bit of dust that might mess with the finely tuned bikes.
The level of detail is just astounding.
It really is. And if you connect that back to the bigger picture, these tiny, maybe seemingly insignificant 1% improvements.
They start to compound dramatically over time.
Clear puts it so well, doesn't he? Get just 1% better each day for a year.
And you end up 37 times better. Not just 365% better, but 37 times.
And the flip side is just as stark, get 1% worse each day.
And you basically decline almost down to zero. It's that compound interest effect, but for self-improvement.
That compound interest analogy, it really hits home, like saving small amounts regularly, it grows into something big. These little consistent habit improvements do the same thing for our lives.
But it's easy to miss them, isn't it? Because you don't see those immediate, like, blockbuster results.
Right. You save a bit of money, you're not suddenly rich, go to the gym a few times, you don't instantly look like a cover model.
Which brings up a really key point about our expectations. Clearwater talks about outcomes being lagging measures of our habits.
Lagging measures. Explain that a bit.
Well, your bank balance isn't just random, right? It's the result of your saving and spending habits over time.
Okay.
Your weight reflects your eating and exercise habits. Your knowledge reflects your learning habits, even like the clutter in your house.
That's a lagging measure of your tidying habits. Or lack thereof.
Exactly. So focusing on the trajectory, the direction your habits are heading, is way more useful than obsessing over your current results.
And it's a double-edged sword, you said. Habits compound.
Positively, yeah. I think productivity, knowledge building, Relationships.
A little extra focus at work each day adds up. Reading a few pages daily broadens your mind. Small acts of kindness, they deepen connections.
Totally. But the negative compounding is just as powerful. Often sneakier, too. Well, small stresses, if you don't manage them, they pile up. Can lead to burnout or worse. Negative self-talk. That can spiral downwards pretty fast. Even small bits of negativity in a group, repeated, that can poison the atmosphere.
Right. Which leads us nicely into this idea of the plateau of latent potential. I found this really, really insightful.
Me too. The ice cube analogy is perfect.
Explain it.
Okay, so imagine you're heating a room with an ice cube in it. The temperature goes up degree by degree, 26, 27. Nothing happens to the ice.
Still frozen.
Right, until you hit 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius.
Okay.
And then suddenly, boom, it starts melting.
All that gradual heating wasn't wasted, though.
Not at all. It was building up the potential for that change. It had to reach that threshold.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You wobble, you fall, feels like you're getting nowhere.
But all that practice is building the balance, the coordination. You're on the plateau, then suddenly you're off.
Yeah. We expect progress to be this smooth, straight line upwards.
But reality is often this valley of disappointment. You put in the effort, but the results aren't showing up yet.
Like bamboo. Doesn't it spend years building roots underground?
Exactly. Then suddenly shoots up incredibly fast. Patience is it's absolutely crucial to push through that plateau.
There's that quote, clear uses, from the San Antonio Spurs locker room.
Yeah.
About the stonecutter.
Oh yeah, hammering away at the rock. Maybe 100 times, nothing happens. Then the 101st blow, it splits in two.
And it wasn't just that last blow that did it.
No, it was all the ones that came before. That consistent effort.
So the massive takeaway from this first chapter, and it's a game changer, really. Focus on systems, not just goals.
Right. Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy, he made this distinction really clear. Goals are the results you want. Winning the race, finishing the project.
And systems.
Systems are the processes that lead to those results. Your training plan, your daily writing schedule, your project management approach.
And Clear argues, and this is pretty bold, if you just ignored your goals entirely and focused only on making your system better, you'd probably still end up achieving great things.
It makes sense, though. Think of a musician. If they just focus on practicing well every single day, the system, they'll improve massively. Even if they aren't constantly thinking about playing a huge concert, the goal.
And he points out some real problems with being too goal-obsessed.
Yeah, like, first off, winners and losers often have the exact same goals.
Right. Every single athlete at the Olympics wants gold. Only a few get it.
So what separates them, not the goal, it's the effectiveness of their systems, their training, their preparation.
Good point. What else?
Achieving a goal is often just a momentary change.
Like cleaning your messy desk. That's the goal achieved.
Exactly. But if you don't change the habits that led to the mess in the first place, the system, it's just going to get messy again, right?
You're treating the symptom, not the cause. Makes sense.
But then there's the happiness trap. Goals can restrict happiness. This idea of, oh, once I achieve X, then I'll be happy.
You're constantly delaying satisfaction, whereas focusing on the system.
You can find satisfaction in just doing the process. Showing up, putting in the work. That feels good in itself, regardless of the end result right now.
And the last point, goals and long-term progress.
Sometimes they're at odds. You see that yo-yo effect, right? Someone trains like crazy for a marathon. The goal,
Yeah.
they cross the finish line, and then bam, stop exercising completely. Because the goal's done. The system wasn't built for sustainability.
The focus was the finish line, not becoming a lifelong runner.
Exactly. Systems are about continuous improvement. About, as Clear says, continuing to play the game.
Okay, so pulling it all together for Chapter 1, atomic habits.
They're those tiny 1% improvements.
But they're part of a larger system.
Like atoms are the building blocks for molecules.
Atomic habits are the building blocks for, well, remarkable results. Small, but powerful because they compound.
Yeah, Chapter 1 really sets the stage. The power of gradual change. Focusing on process. Habits being this force for good or bad. It's foundational.
Okay, so we get the why now. Focus on small habits, build systems. Chapter 2, how your habits shape your identity, and vice versa, gets into the who.
And why is it so damn hard sometimes to break bad habits or stick with good ones?
Yeah.
Clear says it often boils down to trying to change the wrong thing. Or maybe changing things in the wrong way. This chapter tackles changing the wrong thing.
Right. And at the core of it is this idea of 3 layers of behavior change.
Like an onion, he says. Outcomes processes identity.
Okay, break that down. Outcomes.
That's the results. Losing weight, writing the book, making more money. The what?
RSS.
That's the habits and systems, your diet plan, your writing routine, your sales strategy. The how.
And the deepest layer, identity.
That's the core. Your beliefs about yourself, who you think you are.
And Clear's big point is, while all 3 levels matter, the direction of change is key.
Yeah, most people focus on outcome-based habits. I want to lose 10 pounds.
But the better way, the more lasting way,
is identity-based habits.
Yeah.
I want to become a healthy person, shifting focus from the what to the who.
That smoker analogy he uses is just perfect for this, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Person 1 is offered a cigarette, says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit.
Okay, so they still see themselves as a smoker who's resisting.
Exactly. Person 2 is offered one, says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker.
Ah, big difference. It's a statement of identity, a fundamental shift in how they see themselves.
Right. It comes down to those underlying beliefs that drive what we do. If deep down you see yourself as someone who consumes, not creates.
You'll always struggle with spending less.
Probably. If you truly value comfort over accomplishment deep down.
Exercise is always going to feel like pulling teeth.
Pretty much. Lasting change means shifting those deep beliefs about who you are. Imagine trying to save money but constantly thinking, oh, but I deserve this little treat.
That internal conflict makes sticking to the plan almost impossible.
Yeah. And that story about Brian Klonik, the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And his nail biting.
Oh, yeah. Tell that one.
He tried everything to stop biting his nails. Nothing worked long term. Until he started getting regular manicures.
Manicures? How did that help?
Well, he started taking pride in how his nails looked. He started seeing himself as someone with nice hands, nice nails.
Ah, so his self-image shifted.
Exactly. And the nail biting just faded away because it didn't fit with this new identity he was cultivating.
It shows that the strongest motivation is intrinsic, right? When the habit becomes part of you.
Mm-hmm. It's not just, I want to do this. It's, I am this type of person. That pride becomes a powerful reinforcement.
So motivation might get you started.
But identity is what keeps you going, long term.
Temporary improvements become permanent only when they align with who you're becoming.
Right. So instead of read a book as the goal.
To become a reader.
Instead of run a marathon.
Become a runner. Learn an instrument.
Become a musician. See the shift.
Yeah, totally. Because our actions, ultimately, they reflect who we believe we are.
If you genuinely see yourself as, say, a voter.
Yeah.
Someone who participates. You're just more likely to actually vote. It aligns.
If you see yourself as healthy, exercise isn't a chore, it's just what you do.
Exactly. Living in line with that self-image.
But this identity thing can cut both ways, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. Those negative self-perceptions. I'm just bad with names. I'm not a morning person.
They become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah, we feel this internal pressure, often unconsciously, to act consistently with who we believe we are, even if that belief holds us back.
Clearer calls that identity conflict and says it's a huge barrier to making positive changes.
It really is.
So, okay, how do we actually change our identity then, if it's so powerful?
He gives a pretty simple two-step process. Step 1, decide the type of person you want to be.
Okay, make a conscious choice.
Step 2, and this is maybe the most important part, prove it to yourself with small wins.
Prove it to yourself, not just declare it.
Right. Identity isn't just wishful thinking. It emerges from your actions, your habits.
So every time you choose the stairs, not the elevator.
You're casting a vote for, I'm an active person.
Every time you write for just 15 minutes.
You're reinforcing, I'm a writer. The more evidence you gather through these small actions,
the stronger that new belief about yourself becomes. It's built brick by brick.
Exactly.
What if you're not sure, though? Like, what kind of person do I want to be?
That's a fair question. Clear suggests working backward from the results you want.
Okay. How?
So if you want to lose weight, ask, who is the type of person who gets that result consistently?
Probably someone who makes healthy food choices, exercises regularly.
Right. So then your focus becomes embodying those behaviors, becoming that type of person.
Like that friend of his who lost weight by asking, what would a healthy person do?
Yeah. Such a simple but powerful question. It guides your choices in the moment, constantly reinforcing that identity you're building.
And it creates this, like, positive feedback loop.
Totally. Your habits shape your identity. Your strengthening identity reinforces your habits.
It becomes a virtuous cycle, driven by your values, not just the results.
Yeah. And ultimately, Chapter 2 drives home that habits matter, not just for hitting goals.
But for becoming the person you want to be.
They're the channel.
Yeah.
The way we build those deep beliefs about ourselves, you literally become your habits. It's profound, really.
Wow. Okay, so power of small habits, check. Link between habits and identity, check. Now, Chapter 3. How to build better habits in 4 simple steps. This sounds like where we get the practical how-to.
Exactly. This is the framework. And it starts, interestingly, way back in 1898 with a psychologist named Edward Thorndike and cats in boxes.
Cats in puzzle boxes. Tell me about that.
So Thorndike put cats in these specially designed boxes. To get out and get a food reward, they had to do something simple: pull a loop, press a lever, step on a platform.
Trial and error at first, I assume.
Totally. They'd paw around, meow, try different things. But eventually they'd accidentally trigger the mechanism and escape.
And get the food, the reward.
Right. And what Thorndike observed was, over repeated trials, the cats got faster and faster. They gradually learned the association. This action leads to that reward.
Like Cat 12, the data showed its escape time dropping dramatically.
Yeah, it illustrates that learning process perfectly. And from this, Thorndike came up with his famous law.
Which is?
Basically, behaviors followed by satisfying consequences tend to be repeated. Behaviors followed by unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated.
Simple but fundamental. Reward and punishment drive learning.
It's the bedrock of habit formation. Which leads to the question, why does our brain bother building habits anyway?
Good question. Why automate things?
Efficiency. Core explains a habit is just a behavior repeated enough times to become automatic. It starts with that trial and error. Your brain's looking for efficient solutions to recurring problems.
And when it stumbles on something that works, that gets a reward.
It starts cataloging what happened just before that reward. That's the feedback loop. Try, outcome, learn, adjust.
And with repetition, the useless actions fade away.
Right. And the useful action gets reinforced, becomes more automatic, more ingrained.
So habits become these automatic solutions to regular problems we face. Like Jason Reha said, reliable solutions to recurring problems.
Exactly. And interestingly, as a habit forms, your actual brain activity decreases when you perform it.
Really? Why?
Because your brain doesn't need to analyze everything anymore. It just looks for the cue that predicts success and runs the automatic program. Less conscious effort required.
It's like creating mental shortcuts. These if this, then that rules.
Stress starts rising. Okay, run the go for a run program. Get home from work. Run the turn on video games program.
Frees up mental energy for other stuff.
Precisely. Our conscious mind is a bottleneck. Automating routines frees up bandwidth for novelty, creativity, problem solving.
So that argument that habits restrict freedom, Clear pushes back on that.
Hard. He argues the opposite. Habits create freedom. By automating the fundamentals, finances, health, basic routines, you free up mental space and energy for the things you really want to focus on. Build good habits now, have more freedom later.
Okay, makes sense. So how does this automation actually work? What's the mechanism?
This is the core. The 4 steps. Every habit follows this pattern. Cue, craving, response, reward.
Cue, craving, response, reward. Okay, let's break those down. Cue.
The trigger. The thing that initiates the behavior. It predicts a reward is coming, like your phone buzzing.
Okay, the buzz is the cue. Craving.
That's the motivational engine, the desire for a change in state.
Yeah.
You don't crave the buzz itself.
You crave the potential information or connection or distraction it represents.
Exactly. It's about wanting to change your internal state. Relief from boredom, maybe, or satisfying curiosity.
Got it. Response.
That's the actual habit you perform. Picking up the phone, biting your mail, going for that run. Could be an action, could be a thought.
And whether you do the response depends on motivation, friction, ability to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If the response is too hard, you won't do it. And you need the ability to can't dunk a basketball if you can't jump high enough.
Makes sense. And finally, reward.
The end goal satisfies the craving. But crucially, it also teaches your brain, hey, this sequence, cue, craving, response, it worked. Remember this for next time.
So pleasure, satisfaction, relief.
Yeah.
That's the feedback that closes the loop.
Precisely.
And Clear says all 4 stages are essential.
Every single one. If any stage is weak or missing no clear cue, weak craving, difficult response, unsatisfying reward, the habit won't stick. You need the whole loop for repetition. This whole sequence, cue, craving, response, reward, it's this constant neurological feedback loop, running all the time, shaping our automatic behaviors.
And he divides it into two phases, problem and solution.
Yeah, just a useful way to think about it. The problem phase is the cue and craving, realizing something needs to change, feeling the urge.
And the solution phase is the response and reward, taking action and getting the payoff.
Right. Problem leads to solution.
Can you give a simple example?
Sure. Walk into a dark room. That's the cue.
Craving. I want to be able to see.
Response. Flip the light switch.
Reward. Ah, light. I can see. Problem solved.
And your brain links dark room with flip switch because the reward was satisfying. That association gets stronger each time.
Okay, that's clear. And from these 4 steps, cue, craving, response, reward, he builds his 4 laws of behavior change.
Exactly. This is the really practical application. 4 levers we can pull to build good habits and break bad ones.
So for building a good habit?
Law 1, cue. Make it obvious. Law 2, craving. Make it attractive. Law 3, response. Make it easy. Law 4, reward. Make it satisfying.
Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Got it. And to break a bad habit?
Just invert them. Inversion of Law 1, make it invisible. Inversion of Law 2, make it unattractive. Inversion of Law 3, make it difficult. Inversion of Law 4, make it unsatisfying.
Invisible, unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying. Makes perfect sense. It's the mirror image.
And Clear makes the point that these laws aren't just for, personal self-improvement. They apply everywhere behavior change happens.
Sports, politics, marketing, medicine.
Yeah, management, art. Yeah. You name it. These principles are kind of universal.
So if you're struggling to change behavior, you can ask yourself those 4 questions.
Right. How can I make the good habit more obvious, more attractive, easier, more satisfying, or the bad habit less so?
And failure often comes from trying to go against these basic laws of human nature.
Pretty much. We try to rely on willpower alone, ignoring the environment, the friction, the rewards, and then wonder why it's so hard.
Chapter 3 really gives us that actionable toolkit then, understanding the loop and the 4 laws to influence it.
Exactly. It sets up everything that follows in the book, where he dives deep into each specific law.
Okay, wow. So just to quickly recap where we've been in this initial deep dive into atomic habits.
We started with that surprising power of tiny 1% improvements, how they compound over time. British cycling being the prime example.
Right. Then we looked at that really crucial link between habits and identity. How changing who you are is key to lasting change, not just what you do.
Moving from outcome-based to identity-based thinking.
And finally, we just unpacked that foundational 4-step framework: cue, craving, response, reward, the engine behind every habit.
And the 4 laws derived from it make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. And they're inversions for breaking bad habits.
And for you listening, grasping these core ideas, it really does offer a tangible path forward, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shows that even really small changes, if you apply them strategically, understanding these principles, they genuinely have the power to create huge transformations.
Yeah, it feels empowering, not overwhelming.
Exactly.
Okay, so next time.
We're zeroing in.
Yep, we're tackling the first law of behavior change. Make it obvious.
We'll get into practical strategies, real examples, how to actually design your environment to trigger the good habits.
And make those bad habits kind of just disappear, make them invisible.
Sounds fast. So we definitely encourage you to mull over these first few chapters, these core ideas, see how they might apply in your own life to the changes you want to make.
Yeah, reflect a bit. And then get ready to join us next time as we dive into that first crucial law.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We're really looking forward to continuing this exploration with you next time.